to the show with your friend and mine. So tell me, Dr. Squee, who's it gonna be this time? We like to hear you talk, and we love to hear you listen. And if you are not subscribed, you won't know what you're missing. So welcome to the Dr. Squee Show. Welcome to the Dr. Squee Show. Welcome to the Dr. Squee Show. Headphones up, here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. Squee Show. I'm Dr. Squee and this is my show. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all recovered from anyone who was into Eurovision. Yeah, I know it didn't go well for us, but yeah, what are we going to do? We are going to tonight welcome a guest rescheduled from the other day. He's a stand-up comedian who's traveled the world, offering them his unique blend of surrealist improvised stand-up. Please welcome Trevor Lock to the Dr. Squee Show. Hello, Trevor.
Hi. How are you doing, Dr. Squee?
Yeah, very good. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Yeah.
How has this year been in comedy when we could say that perhaps it hasn't been most supported? No.
Well, I've only done one show, so yeah, it's really good, actually. Yeah, best year ever.
How have you been coping with it?
Fine, I just ignore it and pretend nothing's happening. I mean, nothing's happening, so I just carry on. I don't care. Some people have died, and obviously that's very sad. But I didn't do it, so yeah. Just I don't know. It's ask a scientist. I don't know.
It's absolutely fine. Although we will now remove you from our inquiries. We're just going to solely go for COVID as the responsible party now.
Yeah.
For yourself, sir, how did you first get started in comedy?
I did. There was a comedy show at my university, and they asked me to host it. So that's how I started a long time ago at university. With I think my first lineup, I think, was Bill Bailey was the act that I had to introduce.
Oh wow! How was that? And what a first kind of person to introduce was like. By then, he would have already been kind of quite known on the scene.
I mean, I had no idea who he was. I mean, I didn't know anything about comedy, and I just remember he was very funny. But yeah, I didn't know. I had nothing. I don't think I'd never seen a live stand-up show before, so I had no idea what I was doing. But he was very funny. Yeah, it was a sharp learning curve.
And was it just a case of just the opportunity came up, so you thought you'd give it a go? What kind of drew you to comedy?
I don't like making people laugh. That's about it, really. Simple as that. I suppose I'd made people laugh at university, and they said, "Oh, we've booked in this comedy night. Why don't you host it?" Because they also knew nothing about comedy. Yeah, it was terrifying. It was very exciting, very terrifying. I did about the shows. I think came every other week. So yeah, it was extraordinary. My first 6 shows was Bill Bailey, Dylan Moran, Sean Locke, Al Murray. Yeah, really incredible. Yeah.
So obviously now you're known for the improvisation, but did that come as a result of that just going into comedy, or was it something you already kind of just had a knack for?
Well, I just had a sort of knack for it. I didn't realize you could write jokes. I thought they just were all really funny. I thought they could.
That seemed like cheating.
I just thought they were better than me. I just thought because and then I realized it took me a long time to realize that you can actually write things down, like actors do, and learn them. So then I eventually started learning to write jokes and remember them. But that took me
How did those first few gigs go then? Just going
very
up
badly,
there and just
very badly. But you don't know how. If you don't know anything, ignorance is bliss. So you don't. I mean, it's bliss for about 10 seconds before someone heckles you. We used to be heckled back then in the 90s. And so yeah, it was exhilarating. I had no idea what to do, so I could be fantastically awful, and without any shame, really. You know, there would be the uncomfortableness of not being able to do what everyone else could do, like not being able to make an audience laugh. But it didn't matter, because it was just, the whole thing was so thrilling. You know, years later, then I learned how, you know, you write jokes, you learn them, you say them in the right order, and you know, and things can get better. And now I've gone full circle, and now I've stopped writing jokes. I still write them, but usually for other people. And now I do make it up properly.
Make it up properly. And like, I mean, how did you deal with so, like, you know, the reaction from these earlier gigs? You said about hecklers and stuff. Was that something which you were okay with to begin with?
It was thrilling, absolutely thrilling, and until I realized everyone's laughing at me, and because of what that person had said, you know. And then you know, when I started doing it on the circuit in London, I was terrified of hecklers, because I would get them on a regular basis, and you know, and they would be very good. The hecklers were very, very good. So it'd be like, I play a lot of chess now, and it'd be just basically like going on stage. It'd be like, it's like when you play somebody who's much better at chess with you. You can lose a match before you've even started, you know, within a couple of moves. And that's what it was like for me as a young comic. I could go out there, even when I had some jokes, I could be destroyed within a couple of minutes with some experienced heckles.
I just love the way you describe it as being thrilled by that experience, though. You know,
well, it does. You know, I used to get. I mean, you know, I don't know about now, but I used to be a professional comedian, and I assume that I am the professional comedian that has failed at comedy more than anyone else. I can't imagine there's somebody who made a living from comedy who has died on stage as many times as I have. And I think one of the reasons why is because from one point of view, it didn't bother me so much, because it was still, even when, you know, people, when a crowd of people are really very clearly not enjoying what you're doing, there's still an extreme buzz to it. There is an extreme excitement to it. And if you're extremely naive, as I was, you don't really notice that, you know, you don't really notice the consequences. So, you know, I think about it now, I imagine I literally ruined many comedy nights, because you know, you can be so bad that it makes it difficult for the rest of the performers. But that the consequences never, you know, very slowly dawned on me. So yeah, for me it was a thrill. It became an addiction, I think. You get such a buzz, whether it goes well or whether it goes bad, a buzz was guaranteed. So if it went well, if you made people laugh, that was a lovely feeling. And in my case, it never went okay. You know, I didn't have the ability to just for people to enjoy my material and give me a round of applause. That was so it either went very well or extremely badly, and both of those things generate all kinds of hormones and chemicals in the brain, and I think most of them are addictive. So yeah, I think that's what happened to me. I think I became addicted to, I don't know what the chemicals are, dopamine, maybe serotonin, what are the ones, I don't know, euphoria, I don't know. Adrenaline, probably. I think I've got a lot of adrenaline.
Probably in there. Yeah. And you were saying about, like, you
You're the
feel
doctor. Huh?
Yeah, I lost my license many years ago. But you were saying before about, like, you know, how you felt like now in hindsight that you kind of would have ruined some kind of night. So, like, how were you with the kind of other acts on the bill at the time?
Well, I don't know if I I've got to have some kind of. I'm neurally, what do they call it? Neurally diverse. Yeah, I have something wrong with me, and I think the way I relate to people, I don't know. There's something missing from how I relate to people. I think sometimes, and so I'm quite good now. I think with people, or I've learnt things, but I think I was socially very unskilled, unaware. I mean, people probably would have called it some kind of shyness, some kind of introverted thing. But I do remember working out that it wasn't that people that didn't like me. It was that they sort of dreaded being on the bill with me. There's a difference. It's not that they don't like you. They as a person, they probably thought I was as fine as anyone else. But just the consequences of being on a lineup with me, So I think that's I think looking back, I think that explained certain things. I think because I didn't know. I got an agent far too soon, who must have seen me do well by a mistake, and then booked me in for gigs that I was unable to do simply because I hadn't seen gigs. I didn't know what was required. So I didn't know that it's important to keep to time. It never occurred to me things like that, or that try and find some stuff that works, and then just do that for a while until don't do something different every single night. Yeah.
But that seems to have worked in your favor. You were playing the long game, apparently.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how it's worked in my favor. I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know. It's no one chooses to be born, and so yeah, you have to deal with what happens. But yeah, I don't know. You can't do anything differently, can you? But I do occasionally remember. I bumped into some comics last week that I hadn't seen before, or that I really remember from when I started out, and then it sort of takes you back, and you're like, God, yeah, I really knew. There's so many things that I completely had no idea about. But I think some people are like that. Some people are extremely blind to certain. It's like being colorblind, I think, or having or tone deaf, or you can survive in the world totally well being colorblind, but then in a few precise situations that will be a tremendous disadvantage. And I think that's what it is with me. I appear to be absolutely normal, and I can function absolutely fine, and then there's a couple of precise circumstances where I just don't see the stuff, and it just so happens that one of them is my job. But yeah.
I think there's something to some of the most interesting acts like that, though. You don't see it as everyone else would see it. Like, that's surely part of kind of making your comedy, your performance in any area of show business your own, is like you don't see it how everyone else does.
Yeah, well, I think that's trivially true for everybody. Everybody has their own point of view. Yeah, definitely. But I think and obviously we'll never know what we don't see. We never know what it's like to be somebody else, and we can never know that we are experiencing the same thing that everybody else is experiencing. That is true. Yeah. But with experience, I have learned very slowly. I've learned, wow, I really knew so little about the sort of stand-up comedy world. It was sort of a wonder. It's a testament to how nice people are, really, that I wasn't completely spat out.
I just love the fact that it's almost like you create stand-up comedy for yourself. Like, you didn't It sounds like you hadn't seen stand-up comedy.
No, I hadn't. I do remember. It was a real dawn. It was like a moment of wow. People are learning jokes and saying them. I thought that was. I thought I'd come up with that idea. I could cheat. I could come up with some jokes. I could prepare some. And this way, well, yeah, that's what you would do, isn't it? That's what they do. I had to invent that, but I invented that idea, after having failed at doing it.
Yeah, I kind of love that. So, how did you get involved with Lee and Herring with Richard Not Judy?
Because a friend of mine, so Abby Badess, used to go out with Jeremy Herring, and Jeremy Herring used to direct Richard Herring's plays. Jeremy Herring's now a proper West End theatre director, and but at the time he was directing Richard Herring's comedy, fringe, Edinburgh Fringe stuff, and sort of nepotism really, because I sort of hung around with Abby and Jeremy, and I think I did a terrible show. I wrote a one again. This is the thing: if you don't know what you're doing, you can do anything. I wrote and performed a one-man show. It wasn't comedy. It wasn't theatre. God knows what it was. But Abby came along, and Jeremy came along, and I don't think I was. And he needed a young actor to play the young Richard Herring in Richard Herring's new play, and so he auditioned me, and I think Richard, well, obviously didn't mind that they chose me to be in it, so I was in Richard Herring's play. And this is an example. So this is basically how I get through in life. So Richard Herring, very kind and generous man. I do his play, which was just an extraordinary leap for me to go to, because he was a successful comedian doing this play at the Edinburgh Festival. I'm in it, and so he pays for everything, and then he's doing his TV show as a sort of fringe trying out the dry running the TV show live at the Edinburgh Festival, and just be nice to us. I think just as an excuse to give us a per diem, because it's the Fringe, you don't expect to be paid. But as an excuse to give me some money, he said you can be in the live show. And then I just think they forgot to take us out when it came to TV, because they're very nice people, and so when it came to TV, the show changed dramatically because it was a TV show, but because they're lovely people, they kept me in it. So that's how that's what happened there.
And what was that like being around? That was just the most anarchic kind of unusual show, and it was just I think their comedy for me was kind of one of the defining ones of the 90s. Yeah.
Well, I would know because I didn't pretty much watch much else. But it was a wonderful time. They're lovely, lovely people, and everyone who works for them is as well. So I met really very nice people, and obviously it goes without saying how talented. Kevin Eldon was in it, Paul Putnam,
amazing,
Emma Kennedy, Richard Thomas. It was amazing, and I again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't deserve, like they all deserved to be in it, and there was no merit for me to be in it. It was just that, I learned a lot from Richard Herring and Stewart Lee, and one of the things I learned is, really they were examples of how to behave. They were role models for me. Brilliant comedians, yeah, well, everybody knows that, but they were kind, unnecessarily kind and generous. It's and I didn't realize that at the time, probably because that was very early on in my experience of the industry, and then since then, having been involved in it for decades now, you realize, oh my God, no, that they really are special. Their way of that they're unnecessarily kind, and that's not something that you generally think of when you think of the show business, the TV industry, famous, successful people.
So was it a case of, at the time, did you feel like, because, obviously for anyone who doesn't know that show, you'd come on as, it was Trevor and Natalie who'd come on to wheel out trolleys, basically. They'd kind of do a bit of shtick with you, and then that was kind of your section of the show.
Yeah, and now I've told you that, you look at the show and you go, oh yeah, they don't need to be in it.
I love it. I love it.
They were just kind to me and Natalie, and I think, once we were in the show, they didn't have the hearts to knock us out, and they kept us in and they made it work. But yeah, that's the point. They didn't come up with this segment. Like, oh, we've got to find someone we need to do a casting for someone with a small face, and we need a beautiful woman to be his sidekick. No, it's like that's who they've got left over from the Edinburgh Festival. We were necessary for the play, but the play was over. They put us in the live show, and then let's just find something for them. Then let's find something for them, and they did, and they kept us in, and it was great for 2 series.
That seems
and
like
then afterwards, and then when the TV show finishes, Stewart Lee takes me on tour with him.
That must have been like, again, did this daunt you at all, or was it just another Trevor? Let's do this now.
It's just there are loads of comics. I mean, he works with all sorts of different comics, obviously, but again, it was just he wasn't calculatedly thinking, right, who's the best support act for me. It was. I just think I'm there in the room when the phone call comes in or whatever, and oh yeah, go on then.
And were you? But I mean, were you blasé about that, or did that kind of?
Yeah, I was blasé about it. I mean, because I didn't, because I just had no idea how hard it is to make it, and so yeah, it was, this kind of generosity and giving people a leg up. I hope I wasn't, didn't take it for granted or was ungrateful, but that they defined it for me. They were the first people I worked with, and then it was only subsequently, when you stay in the industry long enough, it's only subsequently to realize, oh no, these guys really are special.
And I would imagine Stewart's audience would be an interesting one, because his is a particular type of stand-up. I absolutely love it, but it's kind of quite out there, quite kind of experimental in form. Was it hard to kind of win over an audience like that?
No, they were great. I think because they knew me from the TV show, and you've got to have a sort of open mind. Stewart's stand up is you need to have a bit of an open mind about stuff. So yeah, once I did badly. I can't remember where it was, but Stewart told me off because I wasn't very loud. I had very bad microphone technique, so I was just the front row were laughing and no one else was, and it turned out it's because I wasn't holding the microphone very close to my mouth. But no, it was they were almost the perfect audience for me. Yeah.
And how do you go from there to starting to do your own tours and your own kind of gigs?
Well, you just copy, So I copied Richard Herring by just writing comedy plays. So so I started writing comedy plays and taking them up to the Edinburgh Festival, and then I've only toured. It just came up on Facebook. My only tour in theatres. That was 13 years ago. Eventually I did do a 50-date tour of the UK, but that was of people's houses. I did a living room tour because I do. There are people who like my comedy, but not very many. What was the question?
Oh, it was just about like going from supporting Stewart Lee to then going and doing your own kind of full-length routines.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you just, yeah. I mean, it's hard,
Yeah.
But I'm lucky. There's enough, Well, somehow I'm still asked to do comedy. People will give me money to do comedy, and I find that unbelievable, but it does happen. I mean, it's it even happened last Saturday. Even post lockdown, it's still happening, and there are more gigs to come. Dr. Squee, there are more gigs that I'm going to be paid more money this year. Not more money. Weirdly, I'm actually going to be paid less money than last year, but that's the economics of it, isn't it? But I've got more gigs, and in front of much smaller audiences than Stewart Lee size audiences, and of course, I was his support act when he was not as popular as he is now, even.
Yeah. You mentioned Edinburgh there. What's it like kind of mounting an Edinburgh show? So you said you took some plays up there?
Yeah, I think I took 5 plays up there. Yeah.
How did it go, like mounting your first production?
Well, it was it's really easy because I had a brilliant manager, and who must have been naive as well. So we did this. My first. Well, I don't know. I'd written other rubbishy things. The thing that Jeremy and Abby came to that got me into Rich's play. But I wrote a play, and somehow he managed to get me a deal so that I was in this venue in the Gilded Balloon, and there was some kind of sponsorship deal, some production company. Somehow he managed to wangle it. So I couldn't pay the actors, obviously, but there was a way. I don't know, but we managed to get actors up there in the play. We did the play, and it didn't lose that much money. It got amazingly. It got good reviews, and then I managed to do 3 more plays because production companies were sponsoring the plays. So I was losing other people's money, and then I even managed to sell the plays afterwards. Yeah, you always sell them before. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so I'd sell either before or after Edinburgh. You'd sell them as a format for radio or television.
Okay.
And so I never made any money, but it was always possible. It's possible. So yeah.
I think going to Edinburgh, like the goal is just to lose as little money as possible, surely.
Or other people's money. Yeah.
Other people's money, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. So that yeah, and then latterly, the free fringe became possible. So now, and then I've my friend Martha lives in Edinburgh, and I have to walk Daisy, her dog. If I walk Daisy every day, I get free accommodation in Edinburgh, and I get a free room. So yeah, I can still do the Edinburgh Festival, and it's financially viable.
Yeah, a free room in Edinburgh, I think at Fringe time is gold dust.
Just makes it possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Something which I found on Wiki, which just seems like I don't know how this quite works, and it might be Wikipedia's reporting of it, but in 2007, you addressed the Oxford Union on the meaning of life, disproving Descartes' maxim ego cogno ito sum by tipping a glass of water on your head.
Yeah.
How did that disprove that? I think therefore I am, isn't it?
Yeah, I think therefore I am. Yeah. So I mean, it depends how you understand. I think therefore I am. I mean, most people have misunderstood it, but
yeah.
I mean, so you can. I mean, I assume what I was doing there is I'm just trying to show that experience is prior to thought. There we go. Or a sense of identity, a sense of being someone is prior to the thought that I am. That's what it is. And so why did I tip a glass of water over my head? Because it was shocking, because I was in the Oxford Union in a very nice room, and it's usually all about words and stuff there. And I had explained, I'd said some words, and then to illustrate the point, do something to to sort of surprise them into a moment where the mind wouldn't generate thought. So pick up the glass of water on the table, pour it over your head, and then yeah. Did you notice there was a brief millisecond where there was nothing, and then you're like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? But before you said to yourself, oh my God, what's this guy doing? You were still there. That means that there's something before thought. And,
I love that.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's the way it's described to say that I've disproved cogito ergo sum. I mean, there's no. I think that's not the way to understand. That's not the best. That's not the most interesting thing about what Descartes did. Descartes, the most interesting thing is the methodology, which is to doubt everything. So if you doubt everything, there's only one, and then Descartes would probably agree with me. That if you doubt everything, you're left with only one thing that cannot be doubted. And that is that I poured a glass of water over my head. No, what can't be doubted? You could everything could be. We could be in a computer simulation. So Descartes said we could be tricked by an evil magician or an evil devil. An evil genie could create an hallucination of the universe. Or we could imagine that this is a computer simulation from a much more advanced civilization, and somebody on a rainy afternoon on the planet is having the experience of being Dr. Squee in the early 21st century on planet Earth, and someone else is having the experience of being a minor comedian from the 21st century. That could be happening. We don't know. We can't disprove it. But what cannot be doubted is that something is happening.
Yeah, and someone is having some thought that contextualizes.
Well, not. You can doubt that there's even someone. This could be one person talking to itself. Okay, this could be a sophisticated virtual reality game in which a person takes a little bit of something, puts on the headset, and divides themselves into two and talks to themselves. That could happen. But what cannot be doubted is that there is something. That's the only thing we know for certain. And everything else we don't know for certain. It could be doubted. So that's what I was hoping for when you pour the glass of wine over your head. Okay, something is happening, Mr. Jones, but you don't know what it is. That's this.
And was that kind of planned out in advance? Or was just that there in the moment? Like, let me get myself into a new space. It just seems like
no,
you've got this kind of great experimental gene to kind of put yourself into a different space through something on stage. Does that make any sense? What I'm saying there?
Well, so I love surprising myself on stage, and that's the whole thing for me. The whole thing is probably getting to that state. That's what I like. That's what drew me. That's why being booed on stage or making people laugh on stage kind of was almost the same thing for me, because I liked the distillation of the moment. The walking out on stage, that heightened tingly bit, that was it for me. Well, they said to me, can you come and speak to us on the meaning of life? I don't know why. And so I'd seen people pour glasses of water over their head. I was in a Sufi school for a while, so I knew the tricks, and there was water there. They weren't understanding what I was saying. I don't have any water here, Dr. Squee. I've drunk it all. I've got a little bit. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. I've got more. I had slightly more left.
Yeah.
I'll follow you off that cliff. It's all good. So, with this kind of like enjoyment of kind of getting to different spaces, how does it sit with you when you do stuff like acting? So you've kind of popped up on Time Gentlemen Please. You did that sort of turn on This Morning, Richard Not Judy. Does that create the same buzz in the same way?
No, not really. I'm not very good at acting, and I don't like getting up early in the mornings, and I don't like TV studios. So no, these are all things that again, I don't get out of merit. I just get out of being friends with the right people. So yeah.
What do you do to keep yourself engaged in those experiences then? Just try and learn from the kind of comedians around you, or just
by the time I got to be put into television shows, I had learned try not to fuck it up for everyone else. So that's and that's what I do, and I do, and I was telling someone the other night, we went back to doing comedy on Saturday night, and I say a silent prayer before I go on stage. I don't know who I'm praying to, because we don't know what's happening. We don't know who's there. But I say a prayer anyway. I say, please let me not ruin everyone's night. That's my prayer before I go on stage. And that's what it is now. If I ever do, I was filming something yesterday, and I came close to ruining it, I think. That is the one thing I've learned through all these years, is to really try hard not to ruin it for everyone else.
Not a bad maxim to live by. And you went over to Japan in 2019?
Yeah, I tried. I've ruined Japan for everyone now. It's I didn't want to, but no, that was again another piece of luck. Nothing to do with me. Aidan Killian, the Irish storyteller and comedian and promoter, he used to run run a little circuit out in Southeast Asia. He invited me out, and I did a little tour of Southeast Asia, and the last date was in Tokyo, and it went well, mainly because there was a very nice promoter, and he filled the room for me, and he invited me back 4 times in 2019. So I am now the biggest selling stand-up comedian in Japan, after Trevor Noah and Dave Chappelle.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah.
And it seems the ultimate way of kind of putting yourself in in an unusual position to get that adrenaline rush, to be in a completely different country. And you were going without a script, is this correct?
Yeah. Well, I've been going out without a script for a few years now. Yeah. I don't just do it when I go to Japan.
But like, I guess what I'm getting at is like, what's it like to go out in an audience where you don't know, they could have a completely different expectation of comedy based on kind of cultural differences, all this.
Yeah, well, they're not Japan. You know, very few. There are some Japanese people that come, but so it's like no more than 100 people can come. It's a tiny British bar. So most of the people there speak English as a first language, which means they're American or Australian or British or Canadian. And then, obviously, because it is in Japan, there are Anglophile Japanese that come as well, or boyfriends and girlfriends, or unlucky staff, I'm not doing it in Japanese. I'm not big in Japan. It's just, there's a great guy, Paul Davies, in Good Heavens Bar in Shimokitazawa, and he likes my show, and so he pushes it to his punters. And then the weird thing about my show is, you can come and see it again, and it's completely different. And so people do come and see it again. So that's why I could do it 4 times, because it's always going to be different, and the people twig, oh yeah, we'll come again, because they want to bring their friends, because they can't. It's something slightly different, isn't it? So they like to say, oh, come and see this. Oh, they don't believe that. Some people don't believe that it's got no jokes. They think that I've just got a sophisticated cast, and they want to come again and spot the actors, doing the rehearsed bits. So that's how it works. And I've done it enough now. Yeah, it's still nerve-wracking, because in weeks before the gig, I'm not nervous about having no jokes. But in the minutes, in the 5 minutes before I go on stage, then I really regret my choices.
It's ever regret for not doing something more scripted, or is it just?
Yeah, it's really weird, because one of the reasons why I do it this way is because it goes much better than when I used to do jokes, and it always goes well. And but no matter, I never learn from that. So I don't learn from bad experiences or good experiences. So the fact that it goes well, I never learn that. I still get nervous. On Saturday night, I did a gig at Ivor Dembina's place in Camden, and a comic called Gabby Killick was on just before me, and she was really good, and absolutely blew the roof off the place, and I was just like, oh well, there we go. I've got to go on now. And the 2 comics next to me, Vitali, what's his name, and Stephen Allen, they both leaned over to me and said, "Oh, good luck." It was that good, and I just thought, well, it serves me right. Serves me right for being for not having any. When will I learn to prepare some jokes? and you know, and I walked up. I walked up. You know, I was introduced. I walked up, and I just, you know, I said the prayer. Please not let me ruin it for these people. and I was just thought, well, fuck it. You know, it's about time I died on my ass again. You know, I never believe I can do it. In that minute, you know, in that little bit before I go up on stage, I am walking to certain failure.
But that seems to be weirdly tied to what you enjoy about it from what you've told me. So, like, how do you marry those two things up?
Well, because then it goes well. So then it goes really well, you know. And
Yeah.
so then I think, oh, yeah, I'm definitely never going to tell a joke again. And then sometimes I do. So, like, in that little bit where we opened up at the end of November, I did do a gig. I did Esther Manito's gig in the same room with David Mills. They were running a new material night. For some reason, I mean, who do you think of for new material? Me. They said, do you want to come do some new material? And I wrote some jokes. And died properly, you know. Yeah, that's why I can't do it with jokes so easily as other people can.
Yeah.
So
and
you know,
you now pass on your improvisational skills. Like you teach improvisation now.
No, I don't. I teach joke writing.
Oh, pardon me. Sorry.
That's the weird thing. That is the strange thing. So I have a thing 2 or 3 times a week, called Joke Hospital, and you know, really good comics come along with their material, and I sort of lead a joke workshop. You know, we make their material better, and it's amazing, and it's popular, and I'm quite good at it. It's really odd. I really love it. I like helping other people make their jokes better. Yeah, I've been doing that for nearly a year now, and it doesn't make sense, does it?
I don't know. Is there something like improvisational to someone coming at you with their material, and you've got to on the fly help them punch it up?
So the secret is this. Obviously, I do jokes when I'm on stage. That is how it works. It's just that I don't know what the jokes will be. They're made up in the moment. But the reason people are laughing is because I'm saying things that are funny, otherwise known as jokes. Okay, so that's it. It's just that I don't hold on to any. I don't use any twice. You know, mine are not. They're disposable. I'm a disposable comedian. One-use jokes. So I have that skill. Obviously, I know how to do the old, you know, sleight of hand and switcheroony. You know, I can do it, and I can do it with words on a page or just on stage with nothing. So that's it, I guess.
And do you think there's kind of like something which you get out of kind of being around all these different comedians coming to you where you're kind of teaching about joke writing? Does it help you think in a different way and kind of put your mind space in a different place?
Yeah, it's just nice. It's a nice little community, and I, you know, I learn about popular culture because a lot of the jokes are, you know, about they're about you know, feminism or pop music. Or, you know, some people write about their experience growing. You know, I learned a lot about South Africa because there's one guy writes a lot about South Africa, or there's another guy in Cambodia. So it's fascinating. You know, it is really interesting. There's lots of women, so there's lots of jokes about feminism. Well, not about feminism, but you know, feminist point of view jokes. You know, these aren't things that I'm interested in or aware of or know about, and so yeah, it's enjoyable from that point of view. And I don't teach them. I'm just sort of like in charge. I just lead the, you know. I'm like the, you know, I lead it. So, but it is still, I do find it quite odd. But in a way, but from another way, yeah, it kind of makes sense. And I've been playing a lot of chess recently, and I think chess has made me better. I think chess is a good skill for joke writing, I think.
Okay, how does that help with joke writing?
I think because you have to, if you're playing chess properly, you have to sort of you're visualizing things. You're looking for alternatives. You're looking for you're moving things around. You're creating little in a way you're creating mini narratives, 3-dimensional narratives, and you're creating alternative mini narratives of what the pieces could do before you make your mind up. And so that's what you're doing with a joke. So you'll have the idea of the joke. I want to make a joke about how men are like this. I want to write a joke about how men are lazy, and I want to use my brother as the example and my mother as the example. And then you've got the blocks, and then you can sort of move them. This is very bad. I'm much better than this when I'm not half asleep. And don't pay me for this. I'll give you a free set.
Thank you very much for joining us. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope you've had a good time.
Thank you. I didn't realise it's over. It's 8:25 already. That went quick.
We're heading back towards 5:30. So have you got anything you want to plug while you're here?
Yeah. So comes to Joke Hospitals. I used to have a website, but something's gone wrong with it, so it's not up. So you can't come to the Joke Hospitals. And I'm doing a show, but again, the website's not up. If you are in London, you can remember things. I'm doing it's free. It's just a tryout for a new format called Who Do They Think You Are on at the Camden Head. No, I've changed the title. It's called Judgment Day. And it's me and some brilliant comedians judging people on their appearance for an hour in Camden on the 11th of June.
Sounds like fun. We're going to be putting this out on my radio show on Thursday. Is there any tunes you'd like to hear, Trevor?
Any tunes I'd like to hear on Thursday?
Any tunes? Yeah, any tunes you like.
What time's it going out on Thursday?
It's between 8 and 10, but I am allowed to swear.
8 and 10 in the evening.
Yeah.
I don't think I can listen to it then. Would you play something by Joni Mitchell? Yeah. No, play something by Giant Sand because we were talking about Stewart Lee, and Stewart Lee likes Giant Sand.
I'm not familiar with them. Any track recommendations?
I don't know. Is That All There Is? The Peggy Lee cover. This Giant Sand's cover of the Peggy Lee classic. Is That All There Is?
Fantastic. So on the radio, you'll be hearing that right now. But for those watching it live on video, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I've been Dr. Squee. Joining me has been Trevor Lock. And remember, guys, if in a world where you can be literally anything, please be kind. I've been Dr. Squee. That was my show.